Assalamu alaikum. It's very strange that Muslim scholars in Western secular countries have been spitting venom against secularism or propagating against secularism. In some ways, they are trying to distort it. I recently happened to see one of the videos of Dr. Yasir Qadhi, who equated more or less secularism to religion. While there is a concept of sanctity in religion, no such sanctity exists in secularism. And interestingly, when these scholars talk about secularism and its demerits, and they do not bother to trace the history, and they try to put different spins. But if you want to simplify the definition of secularism, of course, there could be different definitions. But one simple thing that is clear is that church and the state, they are two separate phenomenon and they should not be mixed. The state shouldn't have anything to do with the affairs of religion. Religion is the private matter of an individual. And if you want to make it to, let's say, power corridors of any country, or if you want to secure a good position in bureaucracy, there might be a certain test for that, and if you clear that test, you might be in a position to make it to that post. The state is not going to say that since you are Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Parsi, or Zoroastrians or Jew, you cannot attain this position. In the same way, if you want to be the prime minister of the country or the president, the state is not going to ask you. Naturally, you can contest the election. If people vote you into power, you have every right. That is not the case in religious states or theocratic states. Like in Iran, you cannot imagine any non-Muslim making it to the power corridor of Tehran, or in Saudi Arabia, you cannot imagine any non-Muslim making it to the power corridor of, you see, Riyadh, or in Pakistan, where key constitutional positions are denied to Muslim. But on the other hand, you could see Rishi Sunak, who was a Hindu, he was the Prime Minister of the UK. Uh, Sadiq Khan, who is a Muslim, he's the Mayor of London. There are quite a few mayors in different parts of the UK. In the same way, in Canadian Parliament, in Canadian Cabinet, you can find a lot of non-Muslim Christians. So, one of the reasons as to why the West decided that religion should be a private matter, because they did also try to make religion a public issue, a matter of state, and that produced terrible consequences. For instance, there have been terrible wars, uh, not only against Muslims, but or against Jews, but against Christians as well. Like, let's say, if you look at first, there was great schism in Christianity. Then during the crusade, they not only killed Muslim or fought against Muslim, they also killed Jews in Germany, and later on in the Byzantine Empire, and especially in Jerusalem, Odessa, Antioch, and other areas. They also killed the Christian of other sects. And there was a time when one of the Christian rulers, or rather the daughter of the Christian ruler, she was horrified after seeing atrocities of these crusaders. And this crusade did not last, and it expanded to Northern Europe as well, where Aryan Christians were also targeted. Muslims were kicked out from Al Andalusia, and especially finally in 1492, they were almost non existent there. They were either forced to convert to Christianity or leave the country. The same was the fate of the Jews as well. And even after that, they fought terrible war. Then in 16th century, there was this big divide of Protestant and Roman Catholic. And wherever Roman Catholic were in power, for instance, in France, in one incident, it is said that more than 10,000 Catholic sorry, Protestant were killed by Catholic. In the same way, John Calvin, who was a fanatical leader of Protestant movement, it is said that he would literally roast some of his opponents. So many Protestants were burnt alive. The same was the case of Catholic in the countries where Protestant got power. And during the 17th century, the 30 Years' War, a religious war, it decimated more than 3 to 8 million people. Even this colonization, one of the famous slogans of colonization was to civilize people and to Christianize them. Today, if you see, like in South Central and North America, a majority of the people is Christian. Many of them speak Spanish in entire Latin America, except Brazil, where Portuguese is spoken. Even it was decided by the Pope that which parts of the world would be captured by Portugal and which part of the world would be captured by Spain. And all the conquistador, they had religious slogans. So you cannot say that this oppression was committed in the name of secularism. Of course, it had religious color, and of course, capitalism as well. And even the rapaciousness of capitalism was justified in the name of religion. So anyway, all the conquistador, Pizarro, and others, they used religion. Even Christopher Columbus used religion. One of his companions, Lachesis, he was also a Christian priest, and they had this flag, with the Holy Cross and all that. So, after killing so many people, they decided that religion should be a private matter of the individual, and a state should have nothing to do with religious affairs of the state. Relationships between your heart and God could be described as religion. What is in, let's say, person A's heart, person B might not know, and the other way around. And the vice versa. So in the same way, now the problem is that when these Muslim clerics spit venom against secularism, they do not state then what do they want. Do they want a sort of inquisition against Muslim, like these Muslim Yasir Qadhi, Imam Tom, and so many others who propagate against secularism, with Imam Tom, speaking against it, and Dr. Yasir Qadhi equating it to religion. This is not the case. Secularism is not a religion. They do not know what they want then. Do they want a Christian government across the Christian world? Do they want all Muslim to be kicked out from Christian world then? Do they want more wars in the name of religion? This is what history tells us. Like in Al-Andalusia, what happened? Muslim lived there for more than 600 years, or rather almost 711 to 1492. So you can have more than 7 centuries. And what happened at the end of the day? Because of the religious government. And in the same way, what will happen to the Muslims living in India? Should they be relegated to the status of, shooters, as some Hindu fascists might say? What should be done there? Another problem or another point that these, Islamic scholars, so-called Islamic scholars, do not bother to discuss is that there has never been any religious government in the history of world. What emerges in the name of religion in reality is a sectarian state. For instance, Saudi Arabia, after Abdul Wahab Najdi and Saud family, emerged as a religious state or a theocratic state, and it was essentially a humbly government, a Wahhabi government. Can Mr. Yasir Qadhi, he has been to Medina, can he name any Hanafi, holding key post in Saudi Arabia, or a member of the Shura, any Shiite, any Barelvi, any Deobandi? In the same way, Iran is a Shiite, is a Muslim state, but you cannot find any Barelvi or any Deobandi, any Wahhabi, any Shafi'i, Maliki, or humbly in their guardian council or shura negeban, because it is naturally a sectarian state. The Afghanistan's emirate during the time of Afghan Taliban was essentially a Deobandi state, where most of the senior positions or most of the senior leaders, they were all Deobandis, starting from Deobandi school of thought. Like, is there any Taliban mullah who might have graduated from Darul Uloom Amjadiya or Darul Uloom Naimiya, Barelvi school of thought, or from any Shiite school? No, they were from Deobandi school of thought. In the same way, Vatican is a religious state, but essentially it is a state for Roman Catholic. You cannot find any Presbyterian, Jehovah Witness, Mormons or Protestant or Calvinist or Lutheran, only Roman Catholic. In the same way, tomorrow, if there is a government, let's say a religious government in Pakistan, so maybe those wearing green turban might force other to put on green turban. Those who are wearing white turban might force other to put on white turban. Those who are putting on black turban, they might force other to put on black turban. We have already seen that the Taliban terrorists try to impose a Sharia government in Pakistan through their insurgency. And what they did, they targeted Shiite, they targeted Barelvis. So the message was very clear that if there is any government in Pakistan on the basis of religion, it's going to be more or less a Deobandi state led by TTP, which is a Deobandi phenomenon. So the problem is that you have never had any religious government in the history of mankind. Well, they might say that Medina state, but Medina state was a religious state. But there are critics who might point out that the Charter of Medina declared Jews, Muslim, Christian, even pagans the part of Ummah, according to some critics. Some people say pagans were not the part of that Ummah, but others say yes, it was the part of. And Muhammad, peace be upon him, declared complete religious freedom for all people. So even the government that was established during the time of Prophet, many might say, or many student of political science would say, that that was essentially a secular government where every religion had the freedom. But today, most of the mullah would say, no, Christians should not have a right to preach in an Islamic country. They should not have, they should not have senior position in the government. They should not be speaker of the parliament, or maybe the judge, a top judge, or maybe the president of the country, or the chief of the army staff of a Muslim country. But Muslim in Western countries want these all freedom. They want to establish the largest mosque in Europe. They want to have the offices of World Islamic Missions. They want to have offices of Dawat Islami, Tablighi Jamaat, the preaching group of Raivan, or Dawat Islami, which is a Karachi-based preaching group or proselytizing group. They want to debate, from Hyde Park, London, to places in Washington, D.C. or New York, but they do not want to give the same right to the minorities, let's say, living in Pakistan, in Indonesia, in Saudi Arabia, and other countries. So that's very unfortunate. So if there is a religious government, we have already seen, like Daesh tried to establish, or IS, Islamic State, tried to establish a religious government, and more than 2.5 million people lost their lives in Iraq, Syria, and other parts of the world. Syria lost more than 555,000 people. It suffered, destruction worth more than $200 billion. And then now the same insurgency is more or less going on in Libya. And you can see what did Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab do with other minorities in their own countries, in countries like Somalia, Nigeria, and other parts of Africa. So if there is a religious government, it is going to be essentially a sectarian government. And if Muslim want religious government in Islamic State, would they tolerate non-Muslim religious government in non-Muslim country? For instance, in India, would they want RSS? Would they want the rule of Yogi Adityanath, who is or Hindu fundamentalist? And would they be comfortable if they consign or relegate more than 200 million Muslim to the status of Shudar? Because this is what their religion, then some Hindu fundamentalists might argue. Then if there is Christianity in North America and in Western world, then would Qadi Yasir and other people want Muslim to be kicked out, including himself? Would he want himself to be kicked out from America or wherever he is living? He has lived, I believe, in the UK as well. Would he want that? Would he want all these mosques to be shut down, or would he want all these Muslims to be relegated to the status of second class citizen? So secularism simply says that if somebody is born in Muslim, in Hindu, in Christian family, it is not a sin. If a child grows up, studies hard, passes a certain test, let's say for bureaucracy, top post in bureaucracy, you cannot stop him. Oh, you are Christian, or you are Muslim, you are Hindu, you are Sikh, you are Zoroastrian. In the same way, if you want to become the prime minister or president of the country, like uh, the Muslim guy who is contesting New York mayor's election, he has support of the people. So the American would not say, oh, since you are Muslim, you should not become, or you cannot become. So this is really the hypocrisy of Muslim scholars, and I'm sorry to say, including Dr. Yasir Qadhi, that by criticizing secularism in one way, or slamming secularism in one way or another way, they are just peddling the propaganda of the fundamentalists, who have brought nothing but destruction to Muslim societies. And wherever we tried to impose religious government, it resulted in bloodshed. So we should stop peddling the propaganda of fundamentalists, and we should stop spitting venom against secularism.